one of the main problems is your skin, our skin, suffers nowadays is what is called barrier dysfunction. What does that mean? Our skin is made of a top layer that is called the skin barrier, which consists of not really a cell anymore, they're just like leaves of stratum bricks. And they are the ones that protect us from the outside world. Except what's happening? There is EDSA, there is pollution, there is lots of chemicals in the air for room fresheners and things that we use to spray, including our own perfumes and laundry soaps that can be irritants and all that. So what happens is that skin barrier becomes thinner, dysfunction. You get this from either contact dermatitis or atopic dermatitis, in psoriasis, in medical and other problems of the skin, or because many people like to take either drugs or functional supplements, many of which have side effects, and then you get barrier dysfunction from that. So Cici, you tell them about the barrier study that we did.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's interesting because I think that...
There's also a mic in case you guys.
am I being heard? I think it's interesting because I think skin barrier, there's a lot of that you hear now about nowadays, TikTok, social media, whatever. And a lot of times sometimes it talks, some people think it's more associated with like dry skin or like skin asthma, eczema, things like that. But it was interesting because when we did this study, we found that it wasn't just associated with like dry skin or skin conditions like that. It's actually part of like, for example, acne, which is that you don't necessarily think oily skin is going to have an issue with a barrier because it's oily, right? So parang why would there be a problem? But acne, rosacea, so the redness, all of these things are actually associated with a problem with the top layer of the skin. The top layer of the skin, like we said, parang it's like bricks. They're like dead skin cells that are at the top, and they have like a mortar, like parang yung nasa gitna. And it's made up of ceramides, which I know are a relatively somewhat known ingredient nowadays, cholesterol, and a fatty acid. So basically, it's kind of an oily sort of substance. What we did in our study was that we looked at, ceramides are a great thing. They're a very integral part of the skin barrier. But in addition to that, what if instead of just a regular fatty acid, we use coconut oil? Because my mother will talk ad nauseum about coconut oil and how great it is. But because, yes, we have coconut there. Talking about the saturated fat and how important the specific you can go into this more detail, the long chain fatty acids are in terms of helping your skin heal. And then in addition, one of the other things that people are talking now about nowadays is the issue of the microbiome, right? About like there being dysfunction in terms of the bacteria balance in our skin, because that's really what it is, right? There's a balance, there's always bacteria everywhere in our body. We hope that most of it is good, because good bacteria is how we, for example, digest certain things, right? But we have to also sometimes bad bacteria overgrows, that's why you get an infection. Sometimes you get an overgrowth of fungus, that's why you get like tinea and athlete's foot. So there's a balance. And when you have any of these things, whether it's acne, rosacea, atopic dermatitis, skin asthma, psoriasis, what ends up happening is there's an imbalance now of the bacteria or the microbiome, microbes that exist. And so we added, as part of this barrier product, we added monolaurin, which is part of a coconut derivative, which is antimicrobial, it's antibacterial, antifungal, to try to balance that out. And it's interesting, we just finished the study last month, but it was very interesting because we compared it versus petroleum jelly. Because petroleum jelly is like super simple, it's just you slap it on and your skin technically feels less dry, right? It feels better. It's not necessarily the most pleasant feeling, but it works. And so what we did was we compared it versus that, and it was interesting because over the span of a few weeks, we looked at the different parameters of the skin. With petrolatum, yes, the skin got oilier, and initially what they call the water loss, or like how much water your skin loses, which is a way that we measure how well the barrier is functioning. We could see that initially the petrolatum helped, But actually, after the initial rise, it fell. So parang it only helped in the beginning, but it didn't actually help the skin barrier get better. With the new the new formulation that we were testing, it actually showed that not only did your skin get more moisturized, less red, some other less itchy, but it actually, the water loss decreased over time. So it wasn't just that your skin felt better for a moment, it actually started healing and got better, which is interesting for people who have all of these skin problems. So I think that that's something that we're looking at. You know, I think the idea of trying to balance issues of the barrier and microbiome are very important. I just went to the European Academy of Dermatology and Venereology, and for example, they talked a lot about microbiome and even about, for example, in aging skin. Because a lot of times, again, skin microbiome, people think psoriasis, they think acne, but they don't necessarily think about what happens as you get older, right? What happens in your skin as you get older? And so what this study showed, this was published actually just in August of this year, they actually showed that as you got older, certain bacteria got increased and certain bacteria decreased. And they found that it actually might be associated with earlier signs of aging. And so what they did was they were looking at different options, like how can we address that? So in this study, they actually looked at using retinol, for example, because that is something that could potentially address the microbiome. So it's interesting that sort of my whole point of this is to say that you can't just, I guess, address one thing anymore. You have to kind of address all of these other things simultaneously, because as it turns out, both the skin barrier, the microbiome, these all have effects on all different parts of our skin. So not just is it dry, is it oily, do I have pimples, do I look older, do I look younger? So all of these things are really important. So I think that that's something that we're seeing in skincare, and really just, when I say skincare, I don't just mean like applying things, but it's just in terms of general skin health, is that it has to be kind of a multi-layered, multi-pronged approach. It's not just, oh, I'll slap this on and now my skin is not dry anymore. You also have to treat the microbiome, etc.
Excellent. Excellent. And I'm thinking when I'm listening to her, wow, that's true. And it's really fantastic. And it leads to the subject that I was thinking of as I listened to her. And that is, what do you apply on your skin? When you go to Watson's, what do you look for? What do you get? Lotions and creams and things.
What they tell them
I
to
tell you
buy
what,
on TikTok.
when people are getting
What TikTok says.
I'm getting there. What do you buy? You get these things. Well, one of the most important things that people like to tend to buy, because their doctor gave it to them, and then later on they found out, I can buy this right in Lazada or Shopee. It's a steroid cream. Betazole, Dermavate, hydrocortisone. You can actually buy it, I think, even in the stalls in Quiapo or whatever. Steroids are very commonly used by people that I get to see. And what happens is the barrier becomes thinner, the microbiota becomes irregular, it's no longer balanced and all that. But going from the steroid, which you shouldn't buy, by the way, just so.
Also, sorry, just to
Oh
interrupt.
yeah, wait for your doctor to give it to you.
Just
And
to
don't use it more than 2 weeks to 4 weeks.
Just to say one thing, which is that there are products on the market that do not say they are a steroid. Like, it's like there are creams that are on the market that don't say they have a steroid, but they're just like pang kate, pang pamumula. And it turns out, if you actually look at the ingredients, there's a really, really strong steroid in it, because we see this a lot in the clinics where we have patients who come in and they're like, I tried this and I've been using it for 2 months and somehow it's gotten worse. Like, parang it got better, like, for a while. Pero, Doc, parang lumalala. And I'm like, what have you been? And then I look and I'm like, wow, you really shouldn't be using that for like months and months at a time. So parang, initially, yeah, it works. It stops the redness, hindi ka na nangangate. But then, after some time, it comes back, it gets worse. Or you get an infection. So parang, you really have to be careful when you're looking at something. It can, even if it just says anti-redness, anti-pangangate, anti-inflammation, you need to check what the ingredient is, because sometimes they speak a steroid in.
Right. I recently read an article done in the United States, but it applies so much to the Philippines, so I gave this as a lecture again to the residents. where I said, okay, on the left you will see in my slide are the treatments that we give to our patients as doctors trained in the Western kind of advanced medicine that's based upon research and all of that. And so you use this, like, for instance, for acne, what do? We give retinoic acid, we give a cleanser, we give something that will unplug the pores and all of that. And I said, but you know what's popular with the young people there, or those who go with TikTok and all of that, is that, and I said, on the right side of the slide, I'll show you some Korean products that are very, very popular. The acne patch, the lotions and creams and all of that. And it's very popular among the young in particular. And why is that? Because the young nowadays are very much into it should be organic, it should be natural, it should be clean, it should be, what's another word that they use? Vegan, it should be, things like that. They're very much into that. And I appreciate that. But the point is that they're getting ingredients that are so mixed, and vegetables and all that are very allergenic as well. So I told the residents, but this is the way the young, the millennials and the older people as well are. Respecting nature, loving climate, loving this, and they expect more organicity and all of that. But we in the medical field of learning from the textbooks and doing things that are based upon good research, I said, why don't we mix it? Let's use the products and we'll tell the patients, what do you want? You want this. So therefore we can select products that have ingredient labeling, because we believe very much in looking into the ingredients in a bottle or a lotion or a cream. We look. If we do that, most companies will not make a complete list of the ingredients. So then we go directly into other lines, including there's a couple of apps that we can open, and they actually have the total ingredients list of the products. That way we can advise the patient, okay, you want something really natural, but at least the ingredients are safe. The other thing that I do a lot, and a lot of doctors also refer to the patients for them, is patch testing. We do here a lot of patch testing to actually test people to find out what you're allergic to. And by doing that, something that a patient keeps having had since I was 6, since I was 12, or since 5 years ago, and I can't get rid of it no matter what treatments are given. By helping clear them up, telling them what is the likely cause, and then when they clear up, we do patch tests, we actually identify the allergens, then we can tell them, okay, this you have to use, and I tell you, within a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, they're clear and they're feeling so much better.